Hi everybody, it's your old pal Chuck, and I'm back once again with another review. Today we will be kicking off G.I. Joe Week, but it's not just G.I. Joe Week, it's G.I. Joe Renegades Week. And this will be dedicated to my personal friend, internet legend, owner and founder of GeneralJoes.com, Justin Bell. And here's a quick little Justin fact. Underneath Justin's beard is his chin. To start off Renegades Week, we'll be taking a look at the Amazon 4-pack that was released, I would say somewhere around May and June. It was done in conjunction with the Retaliation movie preview pack. If you've ordered the figures, first they came in this lovely mailer box. Well, to be honest, I should say they came in a nice little shipping box from Amazon, but this was the outer box. It says G.I. Joe Renegades. It's in a very nice off-white slate gray with a little bit of roughing and marbleization on it. On the back, you get two animated images of Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. I'm sure you know which one is which. Opening that up, you get the actual box the figures came in. Nice bright color image of Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, the same image we just saw on the back of the mailer box. The box opens from the top, it gets lifted off, and then on the back you get a series of color images of the four figures included: Duke, Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, and a troop builder, Red Ninja Viper, who, if I remember correctly, never appeared in the cartoon. The figures all come with file cards that are polybagged in the box. Basically the same as what came with the single carded release Renegades figures. Not going to go through that. So without further ado, let's get to the figures. Starting us off is legendary G.I. Joe team leader, and actually I think the first figure in the box, Duke. Now, I'll pause here for the groans of another Duke figure, but I have to say, he's really good. And in fact, I would go so far as to say he's probably the best figure in the set. Right off the bat, you might be fooled into thinking, as I was, that this is basically the same figure from the single carded release, but with just a slightly different paint scheme. Not so. This is an entirely new figure. He has an entirely new body mold featuring the legs from the Renegades Cobra Trooper. You can tell by those giant knee pads. A different arm build. You know, it's a little on the thin side, but still good. And a new head sculpt. As you can see, this is a much sterner look than the Renegades single-carded Duke. He looks a little older, but not as old as your traditional Duke. Basically, I would say this is the in-between point. Renegades could be your Duke year one, and this is your Duke after he's been at it with a while. Okay, Duke features a bowl-jointed head that can rotate, go up and down, slightly go up and down. There is some waist articulation, no ab crutch due to the vest. Typical arms, ball joints, hinge, swivel at the elbow, single jointed elbow. Wrist can rotate. The left hand has the rocker joint to go back and forth, while the right hand has the rocker joint that can go up and down. Coming down to the legs, he does full range of motion, forward and back. Double jointed knees. I should tell you that on some of these figures, the knee pads do pop off. That was a problem going back to the Renegades Trooper. Ankles can rotate left to right as well as pivot up and down. What's really nice here, as you see the knee pad popping off, is that the cut of his pants, I guess, are such that it doesn't interfere with the ankle articulation. Duke, like all of the Renegades figures, comes with a personalized figure stand. This is probably one of the last figures to come with figure stands thus far. That is done in an olive drab, but Cobra has the Cobra logo, and Joe's have the Joe logo. Duke comes with a plethora of weapons, which we'll take a look at right now. As you can see, Duke comes with a lot of guns. 2 large pistols, 2 small pistols that are like the ones that came with Scarlet, and 2 rifles. Now, this is interesting. These, I do believe, were supposed to be the rifles that came with the original single-carded Duke, but ended up coming with the Renegades Trooper. Unfortunately, Duke does not have any weapon storage due to the new legs, so he doesn't even have that slot to peg the pistol into his side. But you can share the wealth. Snake Eyes doesn't come with his Uzi, so you can give him a rifle or a pistol and have some fun. I should mention that the rifles are very difficult to get into their hands, and I had a much harder time with Snake Eyes due to his fixed wrist articulation. But once they're in there, they're pretty steady, and you can get some decent poses out of it. All in all, I think this was a great addition to the figure, and something I think we'll all enjoy. Now, speaking of Snake Eyes, let's go ahead and take a look at him. Okay, here's Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes is a completely different figure from his single-carded release. Unfortunately, he does not feature all the articulation that the single-carded figure did, but he does have some new joints which were actually seen on Marvel figures. He does have a different weapons layout, namely more of a ninja-style sword than, say, a traditional samurai sword katana that he would come with. He comes with 2. They're stored in the back, and then a new sheath layout that involves looping the 2 sheaths together. They come in 2 different pieces. The big difference is this large trench coat, which really does hinder articulation, unfortunately. Like most trench-coated figures, the arms are molded with the sleeves, while the coat part is a secondary rubber piece. He does not have any wrist articulation, except for the rotational joint. He does feature single-jointed elbows, swiveled, hinged arms, ball-jointed head, which moves a little more freely than Duke's, but not too much. It can go down, but really can't come up that far. His legs and feet are the real stars of this. If I can get him out here, it's very hard due to the coat. Legs can go forward, can go out, but trench coat prevents it. Double jointed knees, forward and back ankle pivot with the rocker joints. I think without the trench coat, this would have been a much better figure. Unfortunately, also when I opened him up, some of the joints were stuck, so I had to pop them. And I'm not sure if you can tell, but the sheath on his back is made out of a very soft plastic, and that was slightly bent. Thankfully, the swords are straight, which is quite important. I would have to say that this Snake Eyes is the weakest figure in the set. It just doesn't live up to what the Renegades 30th anniversary Snake Eyes was. Now let's move on and take a look at a figure that I think is much better than this and shares the relatively same body mold. Okay, we're back. These final 2 figures are basically repaints of each other and share the same body mold, so I'll be reviewing them together. Remember how I mentioned that Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow and the Red Ninja, I should throw in, all share the same new leg articulation. What's that? I didn't mention it? Well, I mentioned he has new leg. Oh, never mind. Well, they do. And it's the Marvel leg articulation. Now, some people love it, some people hate it. I really do like it because it allows you to do something like this. For those of you who may not be familiar with professional wrestling, Storm Shadow is performing a textbook figure 4 leg lock on the Red Ninja. The new leg articulation features a swivel at the hip, more like in the upper calf area, that allows the leg to turn in such a way that it can cross over. Turn it here, as you can see, everything's linked up. Storm Shadow is applying the proper pressure to the ankle and things of that nature. Had my 10, 11-year-old self had these figures, I would have been in heaven because I used to use my G.I. Joes as wrestling figures because at the time they were the only ones with the articulation to pull off certain moves. Okay, we're back. And if things look a little off, it's because it is. Unfortunately, my Storm Shadow and Ninja Viper suffer from a relatively bad flaw. And that flaw is the holes in the bottom of their feet. Here, let me show you. Are too small to fit into the pegs on the stands. This unfortunately makes them unable to stand on their stands. Now with the additional ankle articulation, they should be able to stand on their own and you can get some decent poses out of them, but where I'm recording right now, that would be a little difficult. They do come with the same weapons layout. Basically, it's a different style of ninja sword. Looks more like just big old shiv. They come in two different sizes, short and long, which is typical for Storm Shadow, and come with a traditional sheath on the back. It's made of the same soft plastic as Snake Eyes is, and it is also hollow in the back. So when you're sliding the swords in, it's a good idea to keep your thumb over it just so the blade doesn't pop out. As I mentioned, they do have the same articulation. Let me take out Storm Shadow's weapons here. Head can rotate on a ball joint, up and down. Arms, full rotation. Bend at the elbow, rotate at the elbow, rotate at the wrist. No additional wrist articulation. Ab crunch, sort of okay. They do have that new joint, and here's one of the problems with it. If you notice, you can't move one leg without moving the other, and it's due to that. It's a ball and socket joint, but it's a workaround. Rotation at the calf, double jointed knees. My Storm Shadow, unfortunately, because of the way he was packaged, and really all these figures were packaged rather chintzy, the lower joint here on his knee is starting to pop out. Not really a good thing. Forward and back ankle pivot, rocker ankle, which kind of removes the idea of left to right ankle articulation. These are good figures. The Red Ninja was a surprising addition, but I guess they needed something to fill it out. Personally, I would have liked to have seen another named character. Also, if this version of Storm Shadow, looks familiar, he bears a strong resemblance to his Sigma 6 incarnation. This is quite possibly an homage to the Sigma 6 Storm Shadow. Who knows? Alright, we'll take a break and then we'll be back with my final thoughts. Okay, my final thoughts on this set is buyer beware. a lot of these figures have quality control issues that take away from their fun and play value. The peg issues with the Red Ninja and Storm Shadow's feet, Storm Shadow's buckled knee joint, um, the warped leg on Snake Eyes, his frozen joints. Really, the only figure I got from this set that was okay out of the box was Duke. Um, I think these guys are still available on Amazon. If not, you might have to try eBay, but they will be a secondary market price. Um, get them when you get them, open them, inspect them, make sure everything's okay. I guess really this was a nice little final hurrah for Renegades. I think they would have liked to have seen them do a little bit better. I don't know really what the future holds for Renegades. I know that as of this recording, the Tuesday will Renegades the Complete Series will be out on Blu-ray, and I think that really might be it. If you're a big Renegades fan, definitely pick these figures up. It's your old pal Chuck for Duke, Snake Eyes, and the Red Ninja performing a sharpshooter on Storm Shadow. I'll see you next time.